The International Transport Association, IATA, has recently announced a revised outlook for the airline industry performance in 2020 and 2021. A quick fact check. A net loss of 118.5 billion is expected for 2020 and a net loss of 38.7 billion is expected in 2021. Well, once again, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nidhi and you're watching my series on how to become a cabin crew. And in today's video, we'll be talking about a very important topic, which is concerning the cabin crew and the cabin crew aspirants around the world, which is the recruitment. Well, we all know COVID-19, the pandemic has enormously impacted the aviation industry. It has affected the passenger traffic, the air cargo demand, the airport workforce, and the incoming revenues. The loss in global commercial aviation profit is expected to reach over $118 billion. And do you guys know that prior to COVID-19 shock, it was estimated that the commercial airline operations during 2020 would actually generate over $29 billion in profit? That's almost 4 times than the expected profit, the amount of loss that we're actually incurring. And apart from all of these losses, most airlines are not just facing the drop in the air traffic. There's added cost when it comes to health-related measures. There's operation cost at the airports and the airlines in terms of the health and the safety requirements, the disinfectant kits, the PPEs, the temperature checks, the viral tests, and of course the entire digitalizing of the procedures. Given all of this, most airlines had to take a stand to cut their costs to stay afloat, which obviously impacted the most important resource, which is the staff members, the cabin crew, the ground staff, and other staff members. Hence, the airlines like Qatar Airways, Emirates, Singapore Airlines, Indigo, Vistara, and a lot more had to work on strategies, which obviously included laying off, like Emirates and Qatar Airways had to lay off their cabin crew. A lot of airlines used their resources to generate other revenue streams, like Singapore Airlines actually employed their staff in hospitals. A lot of airlines asked their employees to retire early, like British Airways. Leave without pay. Another way to do this, like Indigo did it. Salary cuts. Air India actually did a lot of salary cuts when it comes to the employee salaries. But in all of this, let's talk about the most important question. When will the airline start hiring? But before we answer this question, it's really important to see how a particular airline has been impacted and what is the road to recovery. Because all the operations might be similar, but strategies are different. Do you guys know that as we speak, the number of domestic Chinese flights in September 2020 actually topped last year's levels, with passenger numbers indicating that the local aviation sector is nearing a full recovery from the impact of COVID-19. In fact, the winter schedule for domestic aviation in India, which began on October 25th and will run until March 21 next year, permits a total of 12,983 flights from 95 Indian airports. Indian carriers have in fact been allowed to operate more domestic flights, allowing them to have reaching up to 80% of their pre-COVID flights capacity. Now, what's the reason for all of this? Obviously, there's a huge demand in the domestic sector. We have a strong domestic tourism market, a strong interland, and that is why we see hiring happening in these sectors for cabin crew and ground staff. But what happens in India and China is not really similar to what happens in Europe and US. The recovery in short-haul travels is still expected to happen faster than for long-haul travel. With the travel bubbles, I'm sure you guys will remember that there were talks of travel bubble opening up between Singapore and Hong Kong with Singapore Airlines and Cathay Pacific, which eventually did not happen. But there is a talk of travel bubble being set up in Australia, in New Zealand, and a lot of European countries. So with all of this, we're hopefully looking at a resurgence of international travel at a little bit of a faster rate. Obviously, if these bubbles open up, we could see some progress in the international travel. You can obviously stay up to date with these kind of country-imposed restrictions, and I'm gonna share a link with you which will allow you to keep abreast with the rules and the restrictions, so you can see what exactly is happening in different sectors and different regions when it comes to the travel industry in general. But let's talk about other international airlines which are still recovering from losses. Say, for example, Qatar Airways is leveraging on government funds. Qatar Airways recently announced that it received funding of 1.95 billion from Qatar government. A lot of airlines are looking for alternative revenue streams. Like Singapore Airlines has been doing home deliveries of its in-flight meals. It's been providing 380 restaurant experience. They're conducting training center tours, and they've recently launched Singapore Airlines training academy. And there are mergers in the talks as well. Like, for example, Korean Air, it's been in the talk that it's going to merge with Asiana. And this is what the South Korean aviation industry needs right now when the pandemic is hitting the ground realities. So when it comes to full-fledged international travel, ITA, which is the International Air Transport Association, a global industry group, has gathered that global passenger numbers will not return to pre-virus levels almost until 2022. So where does that leave us with the entire hiring process and the recruitment process? And that is why we have to understand what's happening, as I said, in India and in China can be very different from what's happening in other parts of the Asia, or what's happening in Europe or US. We can only look at hiring, or the airlines will only look at hiring when they are able to have passengers who are going to travel with them, or they will actually have their operations running at a capacity where they could actually employ their staff and pay them full salaries to begin with. So at this point in time, where there's so many salary cuts happening, where there are so many staff which is already on leave without pay, where there are so many staff which have still not been called yet to join the industry back, obviously it's very obvious that the hiring is not going to happen so soon when it comes to the international travel. So let's be positive. If the passenger travel picks up, if the regulations and the restrictions around the country eases up a little bit, if the international travel opens up a little bit more with the help of the government and the vaccine that is going to come very, very soon, there is a possibility that there will be resurgence in the travel. And once that happens, the company will definitely call back their employees. And obviously they would want to look at hiring new people at the same time. So obviously this brings us to the second and a very important question, which is, what will happen to the crew who have been laid off? I spoke to the crew members, and they have been, most airlines have taken, responsible steps, and they've assured the crew that they will be given priority to come back and join the airlines when the rehiring happens. And they've also been told that they have to go through an interview process, maybe not similar to the initial interview process, but still to gauge whether the ex-employees are still fit in the role of a cabin crew members. There is a physical attribute, there is relevant skills that we have to look for, and obviously they have to be reassessed. So definitely, I believe the companies will definitely call back their ex-employees, but the ex-employees will also have to play a very important, crucial role in keeping themselves abreast with the changing environment and, keeping themselves up to date with relevant skills. Now, in the middle of all of this, let's address the third and the most important question, which is, when will the candidates who are either freshers or experienced, but not really from the aviation industry, get to interview? So we also have to understand that not everyone who has been laid off will be willing to come back to the industry. As when cabin crew are laid off, it's on basis of a lot of factors. It's not just, that we decide and we lay off crew. It's on basis of the new hires, people who are operational for just one or 2 years, or people who are undergoing training, or who've been given the offer letter but did not actually start the training, or for that matter of fact, people who were on, a disciplinary record and they were not really performing to their full capacity. So on the basis of all of this, let's analyze all four of these at this point in time. First and foremost, let's talk about people who are operational for 1 or 2 years. Obviously, they don't have a lot of experience at this point in time. They're still fresh in the industry. So, bringing them back, they still need to be trained. People who are still in training, obviously, they don't have any relevant experience, right? At the same time, people who have not even started training and just cleared the interview process, so obviously they have to be again reassessed, because obviously the interview process is going to change a little bit given the entire pandemic situation. And I'm not sure if you guys read a lot of case studies. There were a lot of incidences where cabin crew were not just responsible to serve passengers, but also responsible for the safety and security when it comes to handling passengers who are not wearing face masks, when it comes to handling passengers who might want to open the door and rush out because they feel that, they're not safe in the aircraft. So these kind of emergency situations probably will be more, and cabin crew have to be equipped to be able to attend to these kind of situations. So when I'm looking at hiring someone, I'm not just looking at whether this person is good at customer service. I would definitely be looking at whether this person is good at critical thinking, whether this person is good at decision making, whether this person is good at resource management, because that is really important when it comes to handling emergency situations. So having said that, and of course, people who are not performing very well, if you're already not performing well, and just because you had a contract with the airline, but at this point in time they let you go because of your performance, there is a high chance that you might not have the same chance as anyone else who might be able to perform better, even though they are not from the aviation industry. So we have to look at the larger picture, everyone. We cannot just look at a very micro picture of everything and say, okay, yes, one airline is hiring while the other airline is not hiring. One airline let go, but the other airline did not let go. So as I said earlier, there is a lot that goes into strategies that the companies actually work with. And something that I did pick up, and something that I always share with everyone, but I did pick it up as part of one of the YouTube videos that I was watching when Julia shared this. You have to start thinking as an employer. If you are working for a company, you have to start thinking as an employer. We're not here to take side of the airline. We're not sharing all this with you because, we feel what aviation industry does is right. But we want you to understand that it's really important that when you work for an organization, you just don't work for them, but you understand how do they operate, what are their reasons for taking certain measures, what are the reasons behind implementing certain strategies. So all this really plays a huge role, and keeping all that into perspective. We have been sharing a lot of videos. Julia has been sharing a lot of perspective, and that is why I decided to do this video, to share my perspective with all of you. Coming back to what I was just sharing with you, given that a lot of crew have been laid off, and yes, of course, they will be given a priority, and they should be given a priority to come back, there is a high chance that not all of them will come back to the industry. A lot of the cabin crew might have moved on to different job opportunities. A lot of cabin crew might not be suitable at that point in time to join back the aviation industry because probably they don't have the skills that are needed. Probably they have put on a lot of weight at that point in time and they were not able to maintain their grooming. So obviously, all this leaves a little more room for all those people who are not from the industry, the freshers, the experienced candidates, but not from the aviation industry. And that is where your chance is. And you need to be prepared when you are given this chance. This is what I say all the time. When you get this particular chance, you have to be really, really prepared. So for all of you out there who are cabin crew aspirants, you will have your chance, but then when the opportunity strikes, you have to be really, really prepared. Say, for example, Indigo started hiring, but did any of us actually think that they will actually start hiring now? Even I estimated that they will probably only start hiring mid of next year, according to the trends, how things were going, because they would want to obviously bring back their old employees first and then probably start hiring fresh candidates, because that's how we thought that's how things are going to pan out. But then probably their strategy is that they don't know how many people are going to come back, or whether they're going to be willing to come back at the salary that they're offering at this point in time, because definitely there are pay cuts, and freshers who will be hired at this point in time obviously might not be hired, or actually will not be hired at the same salary. So there are a lot of things that have to be put into consideration when it comes to the entire recruitment and the hiring process. And I know that Julia is doing a lot of research and making a very important video for all of you. So do subscribe to her YouTube channel, where she's going to talk about what really goes into the recruitment process. What I have shared with you is an overview of what is happening in relationship to the current situation, and what are the airlines thinking, what are some of the emerging trends that we are seeing in the industry, in the domestic sector and in the international sector. But then, of course, As I always say, it's really important to keep yourself abreast with the upcoming trends. It's really important to gain experience. It's really important to gain relevant skills. So even if the aviation industry is not hiring, that does not mean that you cannot get hired. Most of my students at this point in time are actually working professionals, and most of them actually gotten a job during the pandemic, because of my latest coaching batches. It's because of the necessary skills that they equip themselves with to be able to interview for any especially service related job opportunity. And I'm extremely proud to share this, that we as interview specialists take a lot of pride in ensuring that our students do end up getting their dream job, and until they get their dream job, they do actually get a job so that they can actually make up not just for the money they have spent on our coaching, but also gain the relevant experience so that they are ready when that opportunity strikes. So I'm going to finish off this particular YouTube video with just one message for all of you out here. Keep yourself abreast with what's happening in the industry, because when the opportunity strikes, you will not have a lot of time. But at the same time, it is really important to have relevant skills, relevant experience. So don't just sit there waiting for cabin crew opportunities to open up. Go out there, learn, experience, and gain as much knowledge as you can. And on this note, I'm going to end this video, and I really hope that answers the 3 important questions that I wanted to basically answer in this video. First and foremost, when will the airline industry start hiring? Second, what will happen to the laid off crew? And of course, third, what will happen to the fresh and the experienced candidates who are not from the aviation industry? When will they get the opportunity to go for interviews? All of you out there, if you do want to join our coaching, I'm going to share the links of our website. You can register with us. The way we operate is that we launch webinars where we share our coaching details, because I believe knowledge sharing is really important. So I do webinars on a weekly basis. If you join our webinar, you will not just gain information and tips, but at the same time, you will also understand our entire coaching process that we have. And of course, if you want to join our coaching, we will explain the process from there on. But at this point in time, do go to our website and sign up for our weekly newsletter, because we also share a lot of interesting stuff via our emails to keep you guys updated. So on this note, let's end this video here. Once again, please do not forget to subscribe if you still haven't, and do not forget to press the notification bell so that you can be updated when the next video comes out. All of you out there, always be safe, stay pretty, stay handsome, and I love you guys. Bye.